Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, last Tuesday, I was given the opportunity to get hands-on with the F1 Manager 23 game for a couple of hours, and so I wanted to share some of my first impressions with you and some of the things I learnt about the game. It's not an in-depth review or anything like that, just a good old waffle about what I've played so far. First things first though, thank you so much to Frontier for the invite to the event. It was such a great afternoon. I honestly had so much fun with the game. It was good to get an early look at some of the new features as well, so thank you again. And just so you know, all the footage in this video was my gameplay and was captured and edited by those running the event. I should also point out that obviously this is not the final build of the game, and so everything you see here is subject to change. Things like driver ratings, for example. And then things like pit stop animations, car behaviors, track surfaces, lighting, etc. are all a work in progress and or will be tuned ahead of launch. Lots to tell you about the event before I give you my first thoughts on the game, but there is some big news to share with you first. Big news I'm sure many of you will be thrilled to hear. Yes, you will be able to change teams during a career mode save in F1 Manager 23. So you can take a team to glory and then a few seasons in, move on and try to take another team to the title. Great news. However, there is a little bit of a downside to this, and that is that it won't be in the game at launch. It will instead be coming to the game in September as part of the development team's post-launch strategy. Of course, I get many of you will be disappointed it isn't ready for the launch, but at least we know it is definitely coming. And to be fair, from my side at least, I'll maybe be 3 seasons into a save by that stage anyway, and be looking for a bit of a change, so the timing might work out quite nicely in the end. I did actually ask the devs at Frontier if it was always the plan for the ability to change teams to be in this year's game, or if this was a decision taken based on the community's feedback following specifically the pre-order announcement, and they said, quote, "The ability to change teams has always been part of our vision for the series. Ahead of the hands-on event for F1 Manager 23, we were able to confirm timings for when changing teams would be added to the game post-launch. We are always listening to our community when it comes to new and existing features in the game, and we are excited to share more details on changing teams in the near future, so keep an eye out for all of that." And that feature joins a number of other new bits coming to F1 Manager 23, including race replay, the addition of sprint races, simulated F2 and F3 seasons, visor cam, driver confidence tactics, and more. And in case you missed it, F1 Manager 23 will release on July 31st on Steam, Epic Games Store, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PS4 and PS5. And yes, it is available to pre-order now. Anyway, let's chat about the event. So I got to play a couple of things. First was a race moment scenario in the new race replay mode, where I had to try and better Aston Martin's result with Fernando Alonso at this year's Monaco Grand Prix, so try and win. Now, I don't have any footage from the early stages of that, but I did pit immediately upon loading into the scenario, and it was all going rather well as Alonso took the lead and built a gap of around a couple of seconds over Verstappen. However, to scupper my excellent strategy, all of a sudden a red flag came out following Russell's DNF. The track was still wet, and so I decided to keep both my drivers on the intermediate tyres, and then at the restart, Alonso, who had been leading when the red flag came out, got off the line and built a massive 8-second lead in just one lap, extending to lead 15 seconds soon after. I had clearly made the right choice, and the AI seemed to be struggling. But me being me, I hadn't twigged why the race pace was suddenly so good. I don't always read everything. It turns out, as I realised when the track started drying, that most of the AI had changed to the slicks during the red flag, even though the track wasn't quite ready for them, hence the lead being built so quickly. And by the time I'd realised, I wish I'd been able to record the audio from when the penny dropped, it was too late. The gap began to disappear and my hopes of winning in Monaco with Alonso were absolutely gone. My takeaway from this is to make sure you pay attention to what is going on away from your own team. It's so important, and you definitely need to be reading everything. Come on, Sean, unacceptable. So I may have failed miserably and ended up in P7 with Alonso and P15 with Stroll, but it was a lot of fun to play, and I do think these race moments are a great addition to this year's game. I am always in favour of more ways to play games, and this is a great way of achieving that. And because we're going to get race moments and race weekends throughout the season, we'll all finally be able to prove, in a game at least, whether or not we really are better than Ferrari strategists. I'm clearly not. There is another side to race replay, by the way, and that is something called Starting Grid, which allows you to take control of any team in a full race that replicates the grid positions and weather conditions from the real-world Grand Prix at the same circuit. Now, following my disastrous attempts at the race replay race moment scenario, I got the chance to play some career mode for real as I took control of Mercedes at the British Grand Prix, taking part in one practice session qualifying and the race. A race, by the way, I did very nearly win, managing to chase down Sergio Perez, getting to within a couple of tenths of a second of the Red Bull, only for Lewis Hamilton to break down on the last lap at Stowe, just a few corners from the end. Absolutely gutted. When it comes to the career mode in-race stuff, it felt largely the same as last year, although it was good to see a few tweaks to things like team orders and race management, including things like overtaking aggression, approach when defending, and even telling your driver to find some clean air and ERS battle assist, which allows you to tell your driver to save a portion of their ERS charge to be used when a competitor is within the 1 second DRS range. Really nice new feature, especially for people like me who keep forgetting to change their ERS and always run out, as you may have noticed during the gaming streams we did last year. It is worth pointing out as well that there weren't as many ERS management options in the build we played. You may have spotted that in the footage. And I've got to say, it was good to have the addition of more detailed tyre temperatures and info as well. It certainly helped with managing things. More good news for you. From what I saw, the cars definitely seem to be taking better lines as well when racing. And whilst DRS trains are absolutely still a thing, it is F1 after all, they didn't seem to be as tough to get through as they were in last year's game. The crashes look better, but I've got to say, this is a management title. It's not a simulation game. It's not something like F1 23, for example, where that really matters. This is about the management side of things, but they have definitely improved them, and the cars do seem to rejoin more quickly after a spin, which is good to see. The new driver confidence system looks like it could be good in a longer playthrough, but I can't honestly really say I felt it had much of an impact during the short time I got to play. But it could well be a welcome addition, and I look forward to being able to learn more about that once I get my hands on the game at launch and I can put lots of hours into it. Away from the track, I didn't get a huge amount of time to play around with the menus, but it does feel largely the same as F1 Manager 22 in terms of gameplay, which to be honest is kind of okay, because that all worked well last year as far as I'm concerned. They do, though, to me at least, feel and look a lot cleaner, and there have been some noticeable changes and additions, things like the full F2 simulations, which is great to see, and I was pleased to see more in-depth training schedules as well. Like I say, though, on this occasion, I just wanted to get to the race weekend to play around with that rather than looking through every single change to the menus. To, I suppose, sort of summarise my waffle a little bit, I really enjoyed the couple of hours I got to play of the game, and the new race replay feature is a welcome addition. As I said earlier, it's always good to have more ways to play a game, and I'm looking forward to trying out some race moments from some of the 2023 season. Obviously, being able to change teams is a big win. It's all well and good having an infinite number of career mode seasons, but once you've taken your chosen team to a few back-to-back titles, things get a bit samey. So being able to say from an RP perspective at least, for example, see you McLaren, thanks for the memories, I'm off to try and make Haas world beaters, is a big thing. It will be interesting as well, by the way, to see how that impacts your former team. When you leave, do they continue to challenge? Do they fall away? How quickly can you move up through the ranks? I'm looking forward to that, and I'm really pleased to see they've added that in. Yep, okay, fine. It would be nice to see it in the game at launch, but it's good to know it is coming and the devs are listening to community feedback. Switching teams aside, of all the other additions that will be in the game at launch, race replay is absolutely my favourite, but things like improved driver tactics, confidence, drivers taking better racing lines, being able to see what's happening in the junior categories, and improved driver and staff development are all very welcome additions to the game. And actually, on the development side of things, I'm really intrigued by the driver development side, because apparently as they age, their rate of development will drop off and now reduce, and if they're not able to consistently perform at a high level, they will start to regress. And you're going to be able to monitor that in monthly recap emails, which will allow you as the boss to make more informed decisions when it comes to your driver lineup. When are you going to have to start training or developing your younger driver? When you have to make a driver change? I like that, and it makes it all feel more realistic. The new visor cam, very quickly, by the way, looks fantastic, just not at ×2 speed. That will give you a headache, trust me on that one. And when it comes to immersion, which is a big deal for me as a gamer, Team Radio has been updated to include a greater variety of messages, including George Russell singing "That's How We Roll." I'm not going to sing it for you, but I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. Overall, based on the first 2 hours that I've played, F1 Manager 23 so far feels like a really good evolution from the 22 game, a game which, to be fair, was a very solid foundation they've been able to build on well. And that's kind of the point, really, isn't it? This is part 2 of a yearly sports franchise game from a developer that has never done this kind of thing before. It was always going to be about building a decent first game and improving with each new title. And in all honesty, if Frontier continue to improve the game as they have this year and in the future add big features in the coming years, I think the future is bright for the series. And just to make the point again, this is a management title. So if you want phenomenal damage models or you want realistic crashes or anything like that, then you need to be playing another game. This is about the management side of Formula One. And as I said last year, I'm just pleased I didn't go with a normal top-down map view of a race. I love the more realistic approach they've taken. Again, though, that is based on just a couple of hours of gameplay on a build that isn't even final yet, so hopefully it will improve even further ahead of launch. But first impressions, really good step up from last year's game by Frontier. That is it for this one then, but let me know down in the comments what you make of what you've seen of F1 Manager 23 so far, and will you be picking the game up when it launches at the end of July? Now, I will be back on Thursday with the Austrian Grand Prix preview, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help the channel out, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.